that's a couple of F-18 fighters who probably just made a pass over Percival Molson Stadium, but maybe not. Might be about to make a pass, but I have a feeling they just completed it and they're leaving. And yeah, should have had my camera going. Oh well, I'll just keep it going a bit. I'm just wrapping up my protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and just packing away the picket signs. Actually, wasn't really expecting the Jets to come over this end of town. So anyhow, I'm just going to put away the picket signs, and I'm just waiting for this taxi to leave. Because we want to get a photograph of my chalk slogan that, in addition to being routinely scuffed, as is sort of happening now, was also deliberately scuffed by a person exiting the Unitarian Church of Montreal who wanted to try to erase it. So I want to just get a good photograph and maybe a bit more video footage of what this woman tried to hide from the view of the public. So we'll let them load up the taxi. Looks like they're almost done. And just take a still photo and then be on our way. But in the meantime, we shall have a look at the wayside pulpit here. This is what's known as a wayside pulpit. Most Unitarian churches have one, and what it is, it's like a, kind of a church sign, but instead of giving the address and so on of the church, which this sign over here does, it's basically intended to display sayings and so on. And until very recently, it displayed the mission statement of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. But now it's completely and utterly physically empty, as opposed to being figuratively empty, because the mission statement of the Unitarian Church of Montreal was actually quite empty. It's empty of sincerity, it's empty of any moral and ethical content. I don't have the exact thing 100% memorized, but it went something like this. Our spiritual community welcomes, nurtures, inspires, challenges, and there might have been one or two other things in there. And then it went on to say, we take action in the world. Oh, here they come again, the Jets. Okay, so yeah, I thought they might come by again. Definitely a little noisy. So that's the second pass, and I think that's the end of it. But we'll just come over here. We'll just forget about the Unitarian Church of Montreal's meaningless mission statement, and have a look at this chalk slogan here: exposing Unitarian child sex abuse, aka hashtag CSA. The hashtag CSA is obviously an acronym for child sex abuse. It's also very conveniently a acronym for clergy sex abuse. I mean, it's an acronym for various other things as well, no doubt. But the fact that the CSA acronym can be applied to child sex abuse and also clergy sex abuse comes in quite handy when you're talking about child sex abuse committed by abusive Unitarian Universalist clergy. So basically killing two birds with one stone, as it were. So anyway, I just wanted to get this footage, and I think also a still photo, of how a woman exiting the Unitarian Church of Montreal earlier, quite repeatedly scuffed away at it with her feet, trying to erase what it said, trying to erase what I'm actually exposing, which is Unitarian child sex abuse. Child sex abuse committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers, Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, and Unitarian Universalist lay people. So yes, in terms of Unitarian Universalist ministers who can be publicly named because they're basically well known to be guilty of the sexual abuse of children, there is one Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell. There are others, but for the time being we'll stick to Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell. In terms of Sunday school teachers who are clearly and unequivocally guilty of the sexual abuse of children, there is one Stephen Craig Bullite of Oregon, if I'm not mistaken. In terms of ordinary lay people who are fairly prominent within the church nonetheless, there's Richard Buell of First Parish Norwell, or perhaps I should say there was Richard Buell of First Parish Norwell, because he's no longer with us. I believe he died in jail or in a hospital, still while incarcerated, for his forcible rape of one of his own family members, apparently a grandchild or grandniece, something along those lines in terms of the age differences, and also a daughter of a neighbor who he also was convicted of raping. So yes, we're exposing these things, and we are trying to persuade the Unitarian Universalist religious community to be less secretive about these things and to just deal with it, acknowledge the truth instead of trying to conceal it, stop legally bullying people who are talking about these issues, stop censoring people in other ways. There's a lot of censorship and suppression and attempts to discredit people by the Unitarian Universalist Association, Unitarian Universalist ministers, and ordinary Unitarian Universalists. Very shameful level of censorship and suppression and attempts to discredit critics and whistleblowers and so on. So that's it. We're pretty well done for today's UU Sunday protest outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal on September the 17th of 2017, which is the second Sunday in the new church year of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, which is wrapping up its celebration of its 175th anniversary. That's it for now.